So most people think that if you're in a relationship and it's the will of God and this person is meant for you, that a relationship is going to be sunshine and rainbows. Or maybe not most people, but that's what we thought. And here are the 4 things that we learned within these 2 years of dating each other that came as a surprise to us. So I'm Rosie and this is Stepan, and this is my first ever video on this channel. And I created this channel to help girls and to help women and build a community and grow together. So if you're interested in that, subscribe. Anyways, so we've been engaged for 3 months now. And I feel like over the 2 years that we've been dating, I've learned so much and I've honestly been humbled, and so has he, I think. And we've also been through a lot together within this past 2 years that we've been talking.
Yeah, guys, we've been through so much so that we have learned basically everything about each other. Obviously, in a relationship, you're progressing to know each other and you never really know everything. But to the point that I feel when most people get married, there's a certain aspect that they don't know. Maybe what happens and how does someone react when they go through a lot of stress, or when a hard time comes, or when, different things happen. We have been through so much together and we've seen so much with each other in our lives that this past amount of time that we've been together, it's basically been a speed run, a fast forward in our lives. Also, the amount of growth we've had has been immense compared to every other year in our life. And so, yeah, today we're going to talk about the 4 things that we've learned. It's going to be 2 about relationships and about dating essentially that have humbled us. So I think Rosie will go first.
Okay, so the first thing that I learned, and I honestly haven't scripted this out, so...
Yeah, we don't even know what we're going to talk about right now, but I'm also going to be listening to the 2 things that she's learned.
Yeah, so the first thing that I would say I learned, and this is like kind of like biblical, is that love is sacrifice. And I have learned that you really do die daily for each other every day. And it sounds bad, but it's really not. I've had to kind of compromise on things, and so has he, in areas that we both thought that were just supposed to be that way. We've just both had to change the way we communicate, change the way that we think that is right. And for example, I've had to talk in different ways because he likes when I talk a certain way, and I didn't know that. But then we learned that, and it takes a lot to kind of like humble yourself and be like, okay, I'm wrong in this aspect, because obviously before being in a relationship, you don't think that there's so much wrong with your communication, with your ability to speak. It also brings out a lot of bad things about yourself that you didn't know. So I guess it's just like learning to humble yourself for that person and sacrifice certain things, and it has to go both ways.
And to add on to also what she said, in my certain circumstance, for example, I might talk to her like she's one of my bros, or like she's like a business partner or something, and it's just not the way that I should have been talking to her at the time. Or she might talk to me in a way that I just don't like, and I want to be talked to in a different way, Number 1, coming from such different backgrounds. Number 2, coming from different life experiences. You have a certain way that you communicate, and you don't realize that you can change for someone else. And it's a good thing to change for someone else. It's a good thing to improve, because any form of communication that changes and improves is good, And I guess that leads into like one of my things that I've learned. Number 1 is that just because someone is the one for you and is the will of God for you, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything is going to be perfect off the bat at all. And I don't know why I had this misconception that things are going to be so easy.
No, he had a toxic mentality about this, where he literally thought that if we argued, it meant we aren't meant to be together.
No,
I didn't. You did think that.
No, not meant to be together. No, not meant to be together. I just didn't think there was any reason to argue, right? But you argue. But that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that it doesn't mean that everything is going to go perfectly, because you grow, and like she said, a lot of weaknesses and a lot of blind spots are revealed to you in the process of growing together, because you're literally with someone else from a completely different background as you. They grew up with a completely different family, completely different values, completely different everything, essentially. I've never had a sister. I only had a brother. She doesn't have any brothers, and she only has sisters. Just that in itself, she's used to talking to girls. I'm used to talking to a man in my family, in my household. And so just that in itself is already a big enough difference. And then all the differences, when you pile them together, there's no way that you won't disagree or argue about some things. There's just absolutely no way. And it comes to the point where you have to just learn how to actually resolve conflicts. Instead of trying to avoid them, you now have to learn how to resolve them and how to live with each other, essentially. Now, this isn't promoting, if you're in a toxic relationship, get help, you know. Don't be abused, don't be mistreated, all of those things.
There's certain red flags that I think that are not acceptable, which we can be a separate video on, because you can make a whole video on red flags that like aren't okay. But one of them I would say that is a really big red flag is name calling. If your significant other is cussing at you, he does not love you or she does not love you. It's not possible. Obviously, if he hits you, that's like an obvious thing. But name calling, I feel, is so normalized in our society, but I don't find that to be okay. Like for us, he doesn't call me stupid even. I don't call him stupid. I don't know if that's common knowledge, but it's just a fact. And that's what I was not used to. I did not know that you don't just like, you know, but anyways.
So that's one of the things.
Hey, but I never did ever do that to you. It's not like I had a toxic trait. I just thought that was normal before, like, you know.
So some people might think it's normal, and so if someone's doing that right now, you can have a conversation, and as long as they change, then it's good. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we're not promoting toxic relationships, but there are troubles that come with relationships, even if it's the right person, and especially if it's a godly relationship, and the purpose of your relationship is to glorify God and to stand together in one vision and to grow together and to accomplish the will of God over your lives together. Then you would have more problems because Satan just wants to attack you, right? And so to overcome those attacks, number one, prayer is important, but number two, you have to learn to communicate. And one of the things that I learned that's very important is that everything is not gonna just come automatically or perfectly. You are gonna have to invest time to talk about things. You are gonna have to invest time to teach each other, maybe not even in the way of directly teaching them like a lesson, but just in the way that you act, you know. Men, they desire and they're wired to have respect, and women are desired to have and wired to have love, unconditional love and unconditional respect. And
That leads me to my next point. You've been talking for so long. This is supposed to be like 8 minutes.
what's your next point?
Okay, so on the whole thing of gender roles and stuff like that, that's where it literally, you led it there as I led you to your point, which hence why we're meant to be together. We're just meant to be together. Anyways, the whole gender role thing. So for me, I also had to learn what a man needs versus what a woman needs, and he had to learn what I need. For example, if he has a problem, he doesn't necessarily always want to talk about the problem. And for him, he kind of learned, if I'm saying I'm okay, I'm obviously not okay. Every guy should know this by now. If I'm communicating like, oh, I'm fine, obviously I'm not fine. So he kind of learned the best I can do of telling him what I need. He learned what I need, and I am learning. Well, we're still learning, honestly. That part's kind of tricky because you love in different ways. So learning how to love the other person, because your gender is literally different. So regardless of how good your communication skills are, sometimes you don't recognize what the other person needs. For him, if he has a problem, I can't nag at him and ask him what's wrong, how can I help you. Like, he wants to process it and maybe even figure it out before he tells me, and that's how he feels good. But me, I want him to ask me, and I want him to talk to me, and I want him to be there for me always. But that's how I function, and I feel every girl and every guy is different, but I do think that the base is kind of the same. Guys like to be a little bit more left alone, while girls want the guy to check up. And even after an argument, I want to be almost nagged, like, are you okay? But he's the opposite. Obviously he still needs care and love, but he's just more so needs time to get over things, which that's just how he functions. Well, my dad too, that's just what I've grown up knowing. So it's just kind of hard when you want to be there for that person, but they don't want you to be there. So you kind of like have to just let them go for a little bit, and they'll come back.
Well, and that's part of the sacrifice, is that you're there for the person by doing what's needed for them, and you're still there for them. Like, you're not there for the person if you're doing it in your own way. And that's something that I think is really important too. Like, you think you're doing something good, but you have to conform to the person that you're dating or the person that you're married to. You have to conform to them to actually be doing what's good for them and what's helpful for them in the moment. The last point for me was, love is not chemistry, it's bond. It's bonding, it's not chemistry. So you'll feel the chemistry in the beginning, and you'll feel all the hibby-jibbies and all of the, you know, the butterflies and stuff like that. That's the only thing that would make you to have all-nighters, talking all night. That's how we started, actually. When I went to Africa, and for 2 weeks I was there. We weren't even dating yet, but she was staying up all night, and I wasn't, because it was nighttime for me. But then when I came back, it was the opposite. And then she went to France, and it was the same thing. So That's like chemistry will get you there, and the bond as well, but that's the chemistry. And the bond is different, however, because you're always bonding, but you're not always chemistrying. You know what I mean? You're always bonding. Every good experience that you have is part of your bonding experience, and even every not bad, but everything that you learn from is also part of your bonding experience. Everything that's hard that you go through is part of your bonding experience. You don't feel the chemistry in that moment. You don't feel the like, oh my gosh, my Superman, my Superwoman. Like, you don't feel that in the moment, but it's part of your bond. And essentially in a relationship, every person has their strengths and weaknesses, and in the process of growing, we can't accomplish it in 1 year or 2 years or 5 years. Maybe a while we'll perfect it. But in the process of growing, your strengths are supposed to cover and make up for her weaknesses, and her strengths are supposed to cover and make up for my weaknesses as well. And it's a constant process of growing, not only within each other, but also in the marketplace, in work, in our jobs, in our business, in church. Sometimes I might not want to feel like doing something after we argue, but she'll still argue with me after that point to get me to do it. Yeah, I won't bring up any of your arguments because that's part of what I've learned. It's another wisdom I've learned, just to keep a lot of things to myself.
Okay, babe, you've been talking for a really long time. And to end this off, because if we let Stefan talk, we will be here all day. Literally. Yeah, to end this off, I just think that obviously you start with chemistry and yeah, it's a bond, but I do think that you love each other more every day, and the more stuff you go through, the stronger you become, and that's just how it works. So yeah, that was our 4 points. And if you enjoyed watching this video, or if you want more content like this, and if you want a different type of video, comment down below. And also comment down below things that you've learned within your relationships that maybe will help us or will help other people reading the comments, and let's just grow together and build a community.